Hi everyone. Today we have the pleasure of talking to Lauren Mitchell. Lauren is a multiple world champion in the sport of gymnastics and the first Australian female gymnast to win the World Cup. Lauren has also won multiple medals and especially a gold medal in the Commonwealth Games. Lauren, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Western Australia, Lauren Mitchell.
Lauren, thanks for taking the time to join us, and we'll just jump straight into it. Can you just briefly tell us how did you actually get started in gymnastics?
So my parents had a gym bus party when I was 6 years old, which is basically like a double-decker bus. You take out the inside seats, replace it with gymnastics equipment. So I had a gym bus party there, and that basically just sparked my interest. And then from there, pestered my parents for months to go down to the local club just to try it out.
Yeah.
Tried it out there, and then the High Performance Centre in West Australia came and watched me for one day and then invited me to do a trial, and that was that.
Wow, just like that. So as a child, as a kid, you know, if you look at just what you've accomplished, and we'll get to that in detail into what you accomplished of your career. But as a kid, how did you get to develop that focus and commitment to stick with it through all that time? Did you get support from your parents? From how did you actually develop that commitment and focus?
I think for me, I just love the sport. And so I was just passionate about doing the sport. And then when you're younger, you don't realize what you're doing. You're just going to do a sport that you love. And so it wasn't probably until I got to high school and then I started competing like nationally and going away to those competitions and then finally internationally. And then it took me a while and I was like, wow, I'm actually good at this. I can actually do something. And because I was always training with a group of girls who was quite naturally talented. So I always had to work a little bit harder just to kind of try and keep up with them. So I think that kind of spurred on my drive and determination.
Right. You had to work hard to keep up with someone else. I find that hard to believe. I thought it'd definitely be the other way around.
Yeah, I got skills. It took me a while to get some of the skills. And so because it took me a while, and then I did have kind of the background and the stuff to work hard, then it kind of came, not a little bit easier in the end, but I was used to working hard. So when push came to shove and the skills got a little bit harder and you had to actually work a little bit harder to get the skills, I was already kind of used to that. So I think in the long run, it kind of worked out well for me.
Prior to, starting from, that the gym bus to getting to the Olympics, what were some of the key milestones you said you accomplished that, helped you get to the Olympics? Did you compete nationally first? Did you compete in the statewide, or what were the key milestones?
Yeah, so you start off basically competing for your state championships. So for your local club, you represent them at the state championships. And then through the state championships and a number of other kind of local West Australian competitions, you can then get a qualifying score to then qualify to national championships. Once you then qualified at national championships, I guess the next step is to then compete internationally. I actually trialled for a Commonwealth Games when I was 14. But got injured with my hamstring. So I tore my hamstring, which wasn't good. So I needed some time off for that. So then when I was 15, that's when I started traveling internationally. And it was kind of like right at the start of the year, trying to kind of get up a little bit of experience. And then at the end of that year, when I was 16, I went to my first World Championships. And this was a year before the Olympic Games. And then once you so you have to qualify your team into an Olympic Games. So Australia qualified a team at the World Championships prior to the Olympic Games in 2007. And then once you kind of get that spot, then you have to qualify yourself onto the Australian team, and that takes place at the beginning of 2008. And yeah, it wasn't really any, I suppose, milestones. It was just little steps of the journey along the way, and it just kind of happened, I guess.
At what stage did your Olympic dream start? When did you think, okay, I want to be an Olympian, I want to compete at the Olympic level?
I guess it's kind of always there in the back of your mind, because you are training in a high performance center. So you're like, oh, you know, if I am here, the Olympics is a possibility. But I never really truly believed it until I was at my first World Championships. So I was the only person to make an individual apparatus final, and I was second up on beam. And I was just sitting there, and you only have 8 people in an apparatus final. And I was just sitting there, and I was watching everybody else, and I was like, wow, I'm actually good at this sport. I could actually do something with this sport. And so it took me, that was probably, you know, 10 years into my career to go, wow, okay, like I'm good at this sport. I could make the Olympics next year. And that was probably like a pinnacle moment for me. So that was quite nice to realize that.
And chronologically, it was the Olympics, then the Commonwealth Games, and then next Olympics. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
So once you're like, okay, I can compete at the Olympic level, I can hang with these girls, I can actually, you know,
I can hold my own.
I hold my own. What happened then? I mean, and how much time between then and the first Olympics?
So that was 2007 World Championships, and that was September, I think, in 2007, and then the Olympics were in August in 2008. And so there was a number of competitions in between that, obviously. So I went to the test event, I think, in December of 2007. So the test event is basically, it's held at the Olympic Arena. You go in, you kind of try all the equipment out. So there's only 2 people per country that get to go. So I was lucky enough to be one of those people. And then kind of once you make it onto the Olympic team, that's the first step to proving that you're able to compete at the Olympics. And yeah. You look back on it, and like I was 17 at the time, you just don't realize what you're doing. It's just.
Did you have like a main coach? Were you part of a team of coaches? Did you have someone that you stuck with for, you know, the years before and after? What was your coaching situation like?
When you start off, when I was training, you kind of start off with your young development coaches, and then you kind of go into your junior coaches and your senior coaches. And so I was lucky enough, when I was a junior going into senior, my junior coach the senior coach, we have 2 coaches. So I have a male and a female coach. My female coach, Martine, she was the junior coach. And when I was then transitioning to the senior ranks with the senior coach, Nikolai, his coaching partner, Joe, she went off on maternity leave and decided, no, I'm going to just take a break from coaching for a while. And so then my junior coach kind of came up to the senior ranks with me. So I was really lucky that I was with her for like 15 years or something like that, 14, 15 years, a really long time. And then I was probably with Nikolai for about 11 years. And they stuck with me throughout my entire career. So you train with them at your kind of state program. And then when you go travel away internationally, it's very dependent on the competition. So for Olympics and Commonwealth Games, you're only allowed 2 coaches. And then the 3rd coach is the head coach that comes along with you. And so for Beijing Olympics, I was quite lucky that we actually had Nikolai with us, which was really good. Oh, sorry, no, Beijing we had Martine with us. And then London we had Nikolai and Martine with us. So yeah, we're quite lucky.
Yeah, your first Olympics is at Beijing. You know, it's become a reality now. You're getting, I guess you're on the flight there, or you land at the Beijing. How did it feel? Did it feel like you were in a dream, or was it just, were you so well, you rehearsed it so many times that it just felt like it was just another day for you? How did it feel?
The actual competition environment, so when you're training and you're competing and things like that, that felt quite normal, because it is, as much as it's cliche, it is another competition for us. Yes, it is ridiculously important because it only comes around once every 40 years. But in terms of the actual competition setting and scenario and things that you're used to, that felt quite normal. It was everything else that made it the Olympics. So, you know, you have the massive dining hall, you get your uniform, you've got like 2 suitcases of uniform, you're staying in the Olympic Village, you have all the other athletes surrounding you. So it's everything else which makes it the Olympics, and that's what makes it really special. And yeah, like when I was competing, it was the moment when you kind of, when we stepped out, so you warm up in like the back gym and then you go out and compete obviously in the arena. So when you march from the back gym out into the arena, that was the moment that I just saw the crowd, and you just hear the noise and you see the atmosphere and the environment and everything. And that was the moment that it just kind of hit me, and I was like, all right, I'm an Olympian. Like, wow, this is real now. And it was, I guess, everything leading up to that point. Yeah.
So you mentioned that I'm just really fascinated by that. You mentioned this this vision of being surrounded by fellow Olympians from all over the world. And obviously you've been to multiple Olympics. What would you say are some of the characteristics of an Olympian? I mean, you said that, yes, it felt like just another competition, but obviously it's definitely once in a lifetime for most Olympians. What do you say would be some of the characteristics of an Olympian? Are they obsessive? Are they perfectionists? What would you say makes an Olympian?
I'm definitely a perfectionist. No, I think it's definitely, you have to be really hardworking. You obviously have to have your raw natural talent to be able to be then good enough in the sport. You have to have like amazing time management skills, amazing respect for the sport. You have to know your body really well, and you have to trust the people around you as well, and you have to listen and communicate, and yeah, you have to be really aware of everything and really have a passion for the sport and have a drive and have a focus. And at the end of the day, you also have to be a little bit lucky. So I trained with a couple of the girls that unfortunately, when the Olympics was coming up, they got injured, and you have to obviously have that on your side, that you can't be injured, and you have to be healthy, but then it's also a little bit of your job to be able to look after your body to make sure that you are in that peak condition, and you surround yourself with people that know you and know what you need and things like that. So it's a massive trust exercise, as well as you know, making sure that you yourself have the drive and determination and passion and put in the hard work.
I love sports, you know, I love training, I love staying fit, but I do know that there are always those days when you feel like, okay, you know what, I'm going to skip training today and I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, you're like, oh, okay, just one more day and then I'll be good to go. I'm assuming that you don't have the luxury of doing that when you're at that level, do you? You just, doesn't matter what, you just got to go. Yeah. Oh, wow.
And to be honest, because I was so used to it since I was such a young age, when I retired, my mum and my sister were like, it's okay not to do exercise today. You can have a day off. And I was like, no, I have to keep fit. I'm going to lose all my fitness. And it's like, no, it's okay. This is a normal person. So actually having the luxury, because we used to always get Sunday off. So Saturday afternoon, Sunday off, and Wednesday afternoon off. Having the luxury of having time off, I was like, this is amazing. So yeah, it was always drilled into you that you didn't have a day off. But even when you're sick, you can always do something. You can show up, you can do a little bit, and then you leave and go home. But yeah.
And I'm assuming that same sort of discipline applied to your dieting and nutrition as well. Is that the case? Yeah,
so we got taught a little bit about it. But now not as much as obviously I would have liked to. So, you know, when you're a young kid growing up, you eat your parents' food, you don't really have a lot of say in what you're eating. So it would have been good to actually have the parents in and have nutrition courses for them too, so they knew kind of what to feed us a little bit. But yeah, like say when you're at the Olympics and stuff like that, it's all your choice, because you do have the massive dining hall there, and then that's when you decide what you eat, what you don't eat. And you know what helps your body, and at the end of the day, if you're going to eat dessert and chocolates and put on weight, you know, the next day or within a week your training is going to be that much harder. So you kind of don't want to eat those foods because you know at the end of the day it's going to jeopardize what you want. So it kind of takes a little bit of discipline, but you know, I still used to treat myself on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon or something, because you kind of got through a whole week of training, and you know, you still have to have your little treat.
Yeah. So that life of as I expected, you know, and I'm glad you confirmed it, the life of a Olympic caliber athlete, it's, you know, discipline is crucial. How did and you know, being disciplined, being a perfectionist, how did some of these traits translate into your you know, life outside competition, or during the time you're still competing, and you know, and nowadays, do you find some of those skills or some of those traits that you built over your career helpful, or are they a hindrance? Do you wish you could turn off,
No,
switch
definitely. Well, I've learned now to switch off. I didn't realize that I could before. But definitely helpful. So especially like the organization and the time management skills and things like that, because and the discipline, because I was still going through school at the time. So in my final year of school was my first Olympics. So I had to be ridiculously disciplined and actually still study and stuff when I was away, and make sure that I did the schoolwork on time, because you still have assignments, you still have tests that you need to do. So with the time management skills, you have to make sure that you find the time to be able to actually do the schoolwork and train, and still make sure you have enough rest and your body's recovering, and you know, you eat right and things like that. So just that discipline to actually sit down and be like, right, I need to do half an hour of schoolwork and then I can have a little bit of a break. That's really good with your time management and your discipline and your focus and stuff. And then translating that outside, like post-career, that helped me so much. So my last year of uni, so I retired and then I had one more year left of uni. And I think that last year of uni, I got my best scores ever because I had no gymnastics to distract me. I didn't really have a lot else going on in my life apart from work and uni. And then, yeah, it was just the best scores because that was my focus at the time. So yeah, it definitely helps.
That's really interesting hearing you say that. Would you say that you almost have to have that sort of obsessive mindset, that there has to be something that is the focus of your life, and you know, you're obsessed with it and want to do the best you can? You know,
definitely what I was. Yeah,
hence
definitely.
when gymnastics,
everything revolves around gymnastics. Yeah. So, but it's something that if you're going to be successful, that needs to happen.
Yeah.
So, you know, at the end of the day, if you're going to say have a drink on a Saturday night and you're going to wake up on Sunday not feeling so great, you know it's going to affect your Monday morning training session. So it's always consciously like in the back of your mind, and you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't. I need to let loose, but I probably shouldn't. And it's always just there at the back of your mind, everything that you do. Even if you go to bed late one night, you're like, I'm going to wake up tired in the morning. Or if you eat bad one day, it's always there in the back of your mind, but that's what it takes to be successful. So at the time I didn't mind. And now, yeah, I've definitely learned to let loose a little bit. But yeah, I'd like to get that drive and passion back for something. So yeah.
Are you saying that you don't think everything else sort of pales in comparison once you've?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think. Well, I don't know, especially in gymnastics, nothing else I don't think compares to that adrenaline that you get when you're doing a skill for the first time, or you're out there competing and, you know, everyone's just watching you and you're completely in control. And I'm not sure if anything else will be able to compare to that. So
wow.
I have to keep searching. I don't know.
and your family during this, you know, you from the time you started as a young kid on that bus, and to a point where you know, committed, you're disciplined, you're doing everything that is required of a Olympic athlete. What was your family's approach to all this? How did they take it all?
So mum was quite good. So I was one of four. I'm the oldest of four.
Okay.
And my dad worked away in China for about 7 years. So kind of mum raised us basically as a single parent. Dad would fly in and out every couple of months or so to visit. But yeah, he predominantly worked in China. So mum raised us, and she tried to keep the lifestyle at home quite normal, and like I wasn't special, and mum kept it quite even and level-headed and things like that. And I think they actually really liked it, because they ended up traveling to the World Championships and to both Olympics, and so they actually got a holiday out of it. And now they talk about it and they're like, oh, do you remember that time we did this and this and this? And I'll just sit there because they were holidaying when I was training, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I think they really liked it. But yeah, they were so supportive. Mum used to wake the four of us up in the morning, drive me to training, drive back to the house, get them all ready for school, drive them to school, pick me up from training, drive me to school, and then she would go to work and then basically do the reverse in the afternoon. The support that I got from my family was just incredible. And I think the day that I got my license, Mum was like, go, I don't want to drive you anymore. Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Mom. Especially with Mother's Day coming up. I hope you definitely don't forget to say thanks. All right. So when as a kid, and even today, to be honest, I always every now and then wonder, what would it be like if I was competing as an Olympian? And even, competition is just being on a stage where you're competing. And sometimes I really get into it until I actually feel the nerves and the anxiety building in me. And that's something I just wanted to ask you, as someone who's done it multiple times. How do you deal with the fear and the anxiety that surrounds competing? The fear of losing, the fear of being injured. How did you? Obviously, you managed to do it. What are some of the things that you did to actually be able to control, if not overcome, those negative emotions?
So I did a lot of work with the psychologist at Waste, Matt Bergen. He was fantastic. And so again, he kind of started his career when I was kind of starting my career. And so we kind of progressed together, which is really good. And it doesn't just happen in competition. So the one thing that I learned is that you have to practice everything in training. If you want to use all your mental cues and things like that, you have to practice them in training. And so I used to stand there, say, before a beam routine, and I used to feel the ground underneath me and say, okay, I'm in this place right now. I'm right here. I'm not halfway through a beam routine. I'm not going for my dismount. I can't think about that. Thinking about this right here, right now. And then I used to do basically like practice competitions or practice beam routines, competing beam routines in training. And so that was really good to kind of keep mentally there and mentally aware and kind of trick yourself a little bit. And so you were ready in competition. And the fear and the anxiety becomes less and less the more prepared you are. So it comes, again, back down to your training. So how you prepare, how confident you are at preparing, how well you've prepared, and how mentally well you've kind of coped with everything, that helps in your competition. And so with that preparedness, you kind of lose that fear and anxiety. And then when you're standing there ready to compete, you're like, right, I've got this. I've done this a million times in training. I know what I need to do. And everything kind of like lets loose. And again, feeling my feet underneath me, all the nerves like in my body, I used to just push it into the ground and be like, yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to compete. And then that gives you a sense of control. Being in a sport where you actually can't control the outcome. It's not like basketball, or it's not like swimming or athletics or something like that, where you have a time, you have a set score, you have something that you have to achieve. Gymnastics isn't like that. Your score is in the hand of the judges. So the judges either like you or they don't like you. They like your routine, they don't like your routine. So the only thing you can actually control is your own performance. And so by having that preparedness and that mental preparedness, and then the control over all of that, then you can control your routine. And there was a couple of times where I was definitely disappointed in the score, but I knew that I had done everything humanly possible, and my routine was my routine, and that was all I could control, and it was a good routine. Like the year that I won my world championship medal, that was on floor, I came fourth on beam, and I put up a routine, and I was like, it was actually pretty good, but the score that I got didn't reflect how I felt, and I ended up coming fourth. And I hate coming fourth because just one below the medals.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
coming
yeah.
second.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, again, you can't control the outcome. You can only control your performance. And so I knew I was prepared. I knew I put up a good performance. The judges just thought that 3 other people had a better performance. And you can't argue with that. And so then basically went back, kind of used all that extra energy, came back and won 4. So, you know, fear and anxiety is there, but you can learn and you can use different techniques to be able to control it.
Well, that's a great answer. Thank you. And there's a lot of, I got a lot from that myself that, yeah, I'm going to be so psyched that I know this. I'm gonna have to go for a run or something.
I'm watching The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary at the
Oh,
moment.
yes.
And it makes me just miss competing so much, and it's firing me up again.
Yeah, I'm waiting for, because apparently not all 10 episodes are released yet. I'm waiting for all of them to be
No,
available.
there's only 6 at the moment. I think.
6. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
So you're watching Michael Jordan documentaries. Sort of leads to my next question. What is Lauren's life like today? What do you get up to? What's the day in the life of Lauren?
So today, watching Michael Jordan documentaries. So I'm a radiographer now. So when I finished my uni degree, I got a job at Royal Perth, which is the state trauma hospital. So we get a lot of the traumas and a lot of interesting cases come through there. So it's one of the big hospitals in WA, which is awesome, and I love it. But because of that, obviously do shift work, so I don't start work for another couple of hours, which is fine because I actually kind of like that as well. You kind of get you get time during the day to be able to do stuff like this. But yeah, so that's basically, it's not really a 9-to-5 job, but it's a shift work job. But yeah, I really, really like it. And, you know, if Corona wasn't going on, I'd be going to the gym, but I'm doing workouts on my balcony at the moment, which is good. But again, you get those days where you're just so unmotivated. And, you know, my mantra is, as long as you're getting outside and you're just moving, then that's kind of good enough for me. And I guess that was my mantra when I was training as well. As long as you're in the gym and you're actually doing something, then you're taking a step forwards in the right direction. So especially now with, you know, being stuck inside nearly all the time, apart from going to work, just having that little bit of a mental break, and, you know, exercise for me is so good for my mental health, because I've been doing it for so long. To just kind of stop something like that, and it kind of, like, I don't know, for me it makes me feel so much better about myself, just kind of getting moving and getting going and getting fit.
So you
that's my life at the moment.
Yeah, you touched on it's like for a second there, the transition from, you know, elite competition to what you're doing today. How difficult was that? How difficult was it to make that decision?
The decision itself probably took about 2 years to decide to retire. So after 2014 Commonwealth Games, I was kind of in a little bit of I'm not quite sure if I want to keep going, had a couple of like niggle injuries, that sort of thing. And I was like, well, it's 2 years out from the Olympics. I'm going to give it like another red hot go. And then a year out from the Olympics, I did my ACL. So, you know, needed surgery for that basically. And then that was another moment where I was like, well, do I finish with the sport now on an injury, or do I try and come back? And I always told myself I didn't want to finish on an injury. And so I had the surgery, kind of came back and trialed for Rio, but unfortunately Australia didn't make a team, so we could only send one person to the Rio Olympics. And I won beam at nationals, so I came back after rehab, won beam at nationals, but they sent someone else because they're not going to send someone straight off rehab, which I understand and I get that. But I ended up going to a World Cup in Europe, and I was like, well, look, if I'm not going to the Olympics afterwards, can you just extend my return flight for a month? I ended up spending a month in Europe and just kind of traveling around and having to think about some things. And that was basically kind of when I made up my mind. And when I came back home, I was like, I have no desire to get back into the gym. And it was basically, I was physically and mentally, I think I was just done. I achieved everything I wanted to achieve in gymnastics, and the last thing would have been an Olympic medal. but obviously it wasn't going to happen in 2016, and now it's 2020 and the Olympics aren't happening for another year. So I would have had to wait 5 years. And my body, I don't think, would have held up for 5 years. And mentally, I couldn't push myself to make it, to push myself to be successful every single day when I knew what it took. And so making the decision in the end, I think, was easy. It was just a long process. And then straight after making the decision, like I said before, I kind of threw myself into my uni, and I was really lucky that I had something to fall back on. But again, I actively made sure that I had something to fall back on, because I knew that gymnastics wasn't going to be there forever, and I didn't know when I was going to finish, but you know that you're going to finish. And so, yeah, I kind of had a lot of support around me with my family and my friends and stuff when I was retiring. And then I had uni, and then kind of fell into the job that I'm in now, and it just kind of worked out really good. But yeah, for a little bit there, I had to make sure that I removed myself completely from the sport. Otherwise, I knew that I would have wanted to go back, and I knew in the long run that wasn't healthy for me. Definitely had a relapse when 2018 Commonwealth Games was on. So I went over to Gold Coast and watched the gymnastics, and I was like, oh, okay, I could work part-time. I could only train like beam and floor, and I could make the Olympics. And I was like, no, what are you doing? So I think every athlete who is successful kind of goes through that a little bit. And I know people go through it at different paces, and honestly, I still miss it. And if I could still do it like recreationally, I would still do it. But I know that I'm one of those people that I would have to go all out. So I know that I wouldn't be able to do it recreationally.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah. What do you, so I think you sort of already indirectly answered this question, but just wanted to double check. Do you ever see yourself going back and being involved with the sports of gymnastics at any level, or is that something that it's a
So
phase
I
of your
went back
life
a
you want to
little
go back
bit.
to?
Yeah. Look, I wouldn't mind. So I've done a few things with Gymnastics WA and a few things with Gymnastics Australia, but I don't really want to go into the coaching side of things, and don't really want to go into the judging side of things. And so I did a little bit of mentoring with the girls. This is before the whole coronavirus thing happened, and I did it with one of the other really successful WA girls, Alana Slater. And it just kind of didn't really take off. And I'm not sure if that's because the mentality in the program at the moment, they weren't really buying into it. And they were like, oh no, we're fine, we can do it ourselves, we're all good. But Alana and I have like so much knowledge between the two of us that it would be a shame to kind of waste that knowledge, but it kind of just fell by the wayside a little bit. And then we're not quite sure what's happening with the program at the moment, given everything that's going on, and it was a little bit rocky at the end of last year anyway. So it would be a shame to see it go, but you know, even in other sports, I'd be happy to mentor other people. But yeah, it's a little bit tricky, I think, at the moment.
What would you say, just based on that, what would you say is a general opinion of the state of gymnastics in Australia, not just in Australia, but also when you compare us to the rest of the world today?
We're definitely not in the same position as when I was going through, which is a little bit unfortunate. So before my time, all the girls worked really hard to kind of get us into the championships and get Australia on the map and things like that. And then we kind of continued on that tradition. And then I think Rio Olympics was the first time since 1992, was the first time that Australia didn't make a team for the Olympics. And that was really quite devastating for everyone. And since then, it's just been, everyone's kind of been fighting to get back and get back and get back. And I'm not quite sure where we lost it. But there's a couple of really good individuals, but I think as a team, I don't think people are banding together and really buying into what it takes to be successful as a team. The mentality then when we were going through it was like, to make the team was part A, and then to be successful and do well for Australia was part B. And the ultimate goal was part B, to do really well for Australia. Where towards the end of my career, and then I think it might be a little bit of the mentality now, it's getting on the team, that's it, like your job's done by just getting on the team. It's not then performing at the World Championships or performing at the Commonwealth Games or something like that. Like, it just doesn't feel like that holistic approach. It just kind of feels like it feels like it's a team situation, but then everyone's kind of an individual within that team. Where for us, or for me, kind of going through, it kind of felt more like a team situation, and the team was always put first. And then if you have individual success on top of that, then that's amazing. And I think that's a little bit stronger for us because you don't get these people that are then, you know, just wanting to make the team. They're wanting to make the team and then be successful as a team. And I think maybe that's where we've lost it a little bit. Just wanting to get on the team, not then wanting to do well as a team. But yeah, again, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen in the next couple of years, because I think sport in Australia in general has been a little bit rocky. Yeah, we've had like amazing successes everywhere, but I think as a whole, it's not, say like Sydney and Athens and then Beijing after that, Australia was just amazing. So it'd be nice to kind of get back to where we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking back at your career as well, you know, from Commonwealth Games, Olympics, state, nationals. Can you think of any nemesis that you may have encountered, who you had to
changed every time, really.
Yeah.
So when I was training at, say, like a state level or something like that, it was always Dasha Jura. So she was that person who was so naturally talented, and I just wanted to be like her. And she's still one of my good friends. She lives in Sydney now, and I'm in Perth. But I saw her, I think last year when I went to Sydney. But yeah, so I always wanted to be like her, always wanted to beat her, and she was so naturally talented, and she was just a gorgeous gymnast to watch. And I think I beat her at floor like one time at national championships, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then she retired in 2009, I think it was, or maybe 2008. And then, yeah, I obviously did quite well on floor after that. And then there was Chen Fei. She was really good at beam and floor and vault. I was never good at vault, but beam and floor, I love watching her. And yeah, so I competed against her a couple of times. So she's from China. And then Aliyah Mustafina as well. She's from Russia. She was the world champion for a couple of years. And yeah, I think beating her on floor was just kind of like this bittersweet thing. And I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then we went to a World Cup once in Japan. And so we made beam finals, and it was basically everyone from that year's World Championships. I think it was 6 out of the 8 people from that year's World Championships made these World Cup beam finals. And our World Cup's not as big as the World Championships. The World Championships are a lot bigger. But anyway, it was 6 out of these 8 people, and I ended up winning that beam final, and I was just like, I was stoked because I ended up beating Olympian Mustafina. So yeah, there was a couple of people at different times in my career, and yeah, no one that I'm unfriendly with, but it was just friendly, right? So it was all good.
Is there, because you mentioned the Michael Jordan documentary, is there any trash talking in gymnastics at all, or is that like unheard of?
Not really, to be honest, because you kind of just train in your little group in Australia and stuff like that. Yeah. And everyone's kind of friendly. If there is, I didn't trash talk, or no one trash talked to me, so that's okay. Maybe among the judges.
You never jumped off the beam and went, in your face!
No, I didn't. I wish I would have. That would have been
Take
cool.
that! How's that?
It's more you kind of do your speaking with your routine. So if you put out a really good routine there, you jump off and you're like, yeah, beat that one.
Brilliant. So finally, Lauren, what you've obviously have a very colorful career, very inspirational. You know, I can't imagine anyone not listening to your story and not being motivated or inspired, you know, to do something. What advice can you give fellow gymnasts out there looking to potentially follow in your footsteps and explore a career as a professional gymnast?
For me, it was, so I had like a quote that I used to live by: success is the sum of small efforts added up every day. So for me, that basically meant you get in the gym every day, you work hard every day, and it's all those little 1%ers that then makes you successful. You know, it's going to bed early on time, making sure you do your proper recovery, eat your proper nutrition, like all those little tiny 1%ers, they add up over time and they give you success. You have to have your passion there as well, because without your passion, then you don't have your drive, you don't have your focus, you don't want to be there. And as soon as you start losing that passion, then you're not going to want to do the 1%ers, and then you're not going to be successful. So making sure that you have your passion, your drive, and you surround yourself with people that support you and have your back, and, you know, push you to have that passion and drive and that focus, not, you know, tempt you into going out on a Saturday night when you know you have to be up early on a Sunday to do a training session, like something like that. Surrounding yourself with people who want the best for you, like having a really supportive family and friendship, kind of little tight-knit community really, really helped. And trusting your coaches, and you know, being able to throw yourself into uncomfortable situations, because it's all those uncomfortable situations that then become comfortable, that then lead you to being successful. Because, you know, it's not comfortable competing in a crowd where everyone is watching you. You know, I had to do a beam routine once where the spotlights were on you. It's not comfortable doing that because everyone in the arena is literally just watching you, and you know that. And so doing more and more uncomfortable things gets you more familiar to the uncomfortable feeling. And again, that's another little 1%er that just adds up over time to give you that success. So that would be what I would say. Success is a sum of small efforts added up, and don't you lose your drive and your passion and your focus.
Awesome, Lauren. Thank you. Lauren, you're truly an inspiration. You're a reminder to all of us to dream big and keep dreaming no matter what. I feel really pumped just listening to you talk. I'm ready to go run up some stairs or something.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
like
Lauren.
I said, just go out, get moving.
You couldn't do anything. Yeah, so Lauren, just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your life, a glimpse into your life and your journey as a sports person, and you know, successful person at something that you wished to do, dreamed it to existence, and made it happen. It's really, really inspiring to come across people like you. And thank you so much, and we really look forward to talk to you again.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I'll chat to you again. No worries. It was fun.
Thank you.